shit, I did it! Yes, finally! Oh my god. Holy shit, I finally killed him! Holy fuck, that took forever. Hey everybody, this is Jeff here of NVG Games, back from another episode of Top 5 Tuesdays. As you can see, this week's topic is cancelled and unreleased games that were supposed to appear on Nintendo platforms but did not for some particular reason. So obviously today is Wednesday. I was going to record this yesterday, and in fact I did, but I didn't realize my Pikmin 3 audio came in. I had left the game running while I was recording, and that overlapped my voice and you were not able to hear me. And then I tried to record it earlier this evening and my microphone was not working. So we're going to try it a third time and hopefully it will work. It looks like the microphone's working and Pikmin 3 is not on, so we should be good. Sorry about that, and we're going to have our Wednesday video up after this as well. I'm going to record that as soon as I'm done with this one. So let's look at our top 5 canceled and unreleased games. Number 5 is a game for the GameCube called Raven Blade. It was being developed by Retro Studios. It was an adventure RPG game, and it was in development around the same time as Metroid Prime. And according to the Nintendo Wiki article, the game plot was basically you were going to be this unnamed character and used a sword called the Raven Blade, hence the name of the game. And this sword was going to be similar to the Master Sword from the Zelda series, but basically meaning that it could destroy evil. And the main bad guy was going to be someone named Beast Lord. Now, I don't know if that was the final name or if that was just a temporary name they gave him while it was in development or what. We don't really know a whole lot more about the game other than that. I think Nintendo Power covered it briefly with some screenshots or concept art or artwork or something like that back when it was in development. And there's some artwork on the Nintendo Wiki article as well that you can check out for the game. And unfortunately, it was canceled because Nintendo wanted the team to focus more on Metroid Prime. So the Wiki article also says that at one point in time it was going to be a traditional RPG that had turn-based concept, or turn-based combat rather, but then later they decided to make it real-time before it was canceled. And there was some videos that were released, and the Wiki article mentions it looks similar to God of War on PS2. Number 4 is a game that technically did come out, but not here in North America, and that game is Terranigma on the Super NES. This came out in Europe in 1996 and in Japan in 1995, and it is part of the Gaia series of games from Quintet. The Wikipedia article listed as part of the ActRaiser series, but that is not correct. That is a separate series, ActRaiser and ActRaiser 2, and the Gaia series is Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and Terranigma. Whoever put this article together probably assumed they were part of the same series because they were both developed by Quintet, but they are separate as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, Terranigma is an action RPG game. The gameplay is similar to two-dimensional Zelda games, and it's really fun, and there's puzzle solving and all kinds of things like that. If you ever played Soul Blazer, it's very similar to that, but a little bit more in depth and that sort of thing. And it's a cool game. You should check it out if you can get your hands on a European copy of the game and a European console to play it on, or a modified North American console to play it with. But of course, we didn't get it here in North America, and that is because Enix decided to close their North American localization office before the game was ready to be released. And this is obviously before the Square Enix merger, which happened years later. So that is what happened with that. And as far as I know, it hasn't been released for Virtual Console in any territory thus far. So hopefully it will come out on Virtual Console eventually, and maybe Nintendo will be nice and put out the European version on the North American Virtual Console service as well. And then everybody can check it out while having to pay a fortune for a copy of the cartridge and the European console. So number 3 is another game that was finished but didn't come out, and that is Star Fox 2. This was basically finished, like I mentioned, but for some reason Nintendo decided to cancel it. And according to the Nintendo Wikia article, the reason they canceled it is because they were focusing their development attention on the N64, which, as we know, came out a little bit later in 1996. And it turns out that they could have actually finished Star Fox 2 and had plenty of time for it to be marketed and all that, because the N64 got delayed. It was originally going to be released back in '95, if I remember correctly, but they decided to delay it. And some of the things that are in Star Fox 2 are going to be seen in Star Fox Zero, which comes out this Friday on the Wii U. And one of those things is the Walker transformation for the R-Wing. And there's also aspects of Star Fox 2 used in Star Fox Command on the Nintendo DS and Star Fox 64 on the N64, which basically, I guess the team decided to switch to Star Fox 64 once they decided to refocus on N64 development. There is a prototype or beta version or alpha version floating around of the game online you can check out. There's video footage of it as well, I'm sure, but there's no actual production cards that I'm aware of, because the game was never released officially, which is unfortunate. Maybe Nintendo will be nice and decide to publish it one day for Virtual Console in a finished form. That would be cool. That'd be a nice little bonus, but I don't know if that will ever happen or not. Probably not. Now, coming in at number 2 is a game that was technically released, but in a different format than it was originally intended, and that is Zelda, or Zelda, however you say that, and that is translated to Another Zelda. And Zelda, of course, was originally intended for the 64 disk drive, which was never released outside Japan. And if you're not familiar with the 64 disk drive, basically it was an accessory that would go on the bottom of your N64. So you'd flip your console over, and there would be an expansion port on the bottom of the N64, and you would set that on top of the 64 disk drive, and it would attach, together. And the media it used were little diskettes, or discs, if you prefer. And if I remember correctly, they were somewhere between the size of a 3.5 inch and a 5 1/4 inch disc for PCs. So it was a little bit bigger than a 3.5 inch and a little bit smaller than a 5 1/4. I haven't actually seen one in person. I've just seen pictures of it, but that is what my memory of it is triggered in my mind when I saw images in Nintendo Power and that sort of thing. But the game was released here, but not as Zelda. It was released as Ocarina of Time Master Quest on the GameCube. It came as part of a pre-order bonus for the Wind Waker. And you also got the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition disc as well. Now you can find those discs online on eBay and whatnot, but you're going to pay a lot of money for it, so hopefully Nintendo will release a Virtual Console version of it in the future. Zelda was going to be a bit different than Master Quest. One of those things that was going to be different was some new dungeons, like the Unicorn Fountain, which, if you remember from the Triforce hoax for the game, that was an April Fool's joke and a rumor for years that you could get the Triforce in the game. It was a fountain area that had unicorn statues, and this was supposedly where you would get the Triforce in the game. This was seen in some early development screenshots of the game before it was released, and as we know, the Triforce was never actually included in the officially released version of the game. But this was intended to be included with Zelda, and that did not happen, as we know, because it's not in Master Quest. So Master Quest, basically, it has rearranged dungeons. Rooms are in different locations, items are in different locations, scatolas, heart pieces, that sort of thing, and enemies do more damage. And like I said, you can check that out on the GameCube. It is available in that format, but the original Zelda does not exist, which is unfortunate, because it looked pretty cool from what I saw of it in the screenshots and that sort of thing that was shown in Nintendo Power. Maybe they'll revisit that idea sometime in the future. I guess we'll have to see. And according to the Zeldapedia article, they also use ideas from this in Majora's Mask as well. Now, coming out at number 1 is a game that never came out, and that is Metroid Dread, which was originally intended for the Nintendo DS. This, according to the Wikitroid article, is currently in limbo, but as far as anyone else is concerned, it's basically canceled. I mean, they haven't made any mention of it in years. And it was going to be a 2D Metroid game similar to Metroid Fusion, which was on the Game Boy Advance. And it was even referenced in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, where there was a terminal in the game that said, "Experiment Status Report Update. Metroid Project Dread is nearing the final stages of completion." Then another terminal next to it said, "Experiment results unsuccessful. All attempts at using Metroids as a weapon power source have failed." Now, people thought this meant that they were saying that Metroid Dread was canceled, but the Japanese version didn't have that reference in it. The Japanese version said, "Space Pirates data decrypted. Ordnance research and development progress report. The development of Dread class turret is going well." So as you can see, it may have just been a mistranslation from the Japanese version. Or it could have been something that the North American translating team decided to put in as, a reference to the canceled game. Who knows? But there was comments from Yoshio Sakamoto, who is the co-creator of the Metroid series, and this happened in the early 2010s, and he said that the game did exist at one point in time, but if he was going to go back to it and redo it, he would want it to start over completely and not use any of the assets and material they already had in development. In May 2010, Craig Harris from IGN said that the story was complete for the game, and he even saw footage of it at one point in time. And he said Nintendo basically has it available and they can bring it back if they so desire. Then in July 2015, Nintendo Software Technology was the developers of the game, and they had a prototype that had been created back in 2008. And people at Nintendo had seen this at E3 2009, but at this point in time it didn't have the Metroid Dread title anymore. It was just an untitled Metroid game. And it was going to be, like I said, Somewhere to Fusion, being a direct sequel to that. And they decided to cancel it, Nintendo did, because of the failure of Project Hammer, which is another NST title. And I believe that was also not released here, if I remember correctly. And unfortunately, we have not gotten a 2D Metroid since. We got Metroid Other M, obviously, on the Wii, and we got Metroid Prime Federation Force coming out soon for 3DS, but there's not been a 2D Metroid game since, as far as I can remember. And part of that is because the Metroid series does not sell as well as, say, Mario or Zelda, even though it's critically acclaimed by people like me, core gamers and that sort of thing. I'm a big Metroid fan personally. I've played them all, and I hope that we'll get a new 2D one eventually, but it remains to be seen. So that's my look at some of the top 5 games that were either canceled or unreleased for Nintendo platforms. You can hit the like button here on YouTube to give us a like, and you can comment below and let us know what your top 5 picks for canceled or unreleased games are. And you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/nvideogaming or on Twitter at twitter.com/nvideogames. And you can subscribe to our channel here on YouTube to follow along for videos. We have a new video every day except for Sundays. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and game on.